Hi there, I am Stacy Phillips, and I am so excited to kick off season 1 of my podcast, Stacy Phillips and Friends, or as we like to say, keeping it real with non-housewives. No slight to real housewives. We really love you. Everybody needs a housewife in their life. Each week, we will step into my wardrobe, literally one of my closets, where one of my nearest and dearest friends and confidants will fill this chair next to me as my co-host to chat a little bit about life and a lot about women empowering women. Together, we will have a gap session with just us gal pals, a deep dive for the dish, a convo among co-eds, and then our big feature presentation, the special guest interview, or what I call the SGI. But first, move over, Andy Cohen, with your mazel of the day, because at Stacy Phillips and Friends, we will bump it up a notch or 3 as we Kibbitz, Kvetch, and Kvell, the best 5 minutes of commenting, complaining, and crowing. And because I am a divorce attorney, my producer, George, will drop in to spend a few minutes of each show talking about a high-profile relationship in the news. So welcome to Stacy Phillips and Friends. Let's keep it real. Hi again, I'm Stacy, and welcome to Stacy Phillips and Friends, or as we like to say, keeping it real with non-housewives. No slight to housewives. My co-host today is my dear friend, sister, and bestie, Monica Reed.
I'm glad you added sister.
Yes.
Because I was going to say, what about that?
You taught me that, actually. So, Mon, as I call her, was born and raised in St. Louis from a family of professional teachers, nurses, and policemen. She may have been expected to enter one of those honorable professions, but a move to LA to study at UCLA resulted in an offer to sing on tour with the Allman Brothers, and life changed for Monica. Monica subsequently followed her heart to London. The pub and club circuit served as the perfect introduction to some of London's finest musicians. Monica toured Europe in her own band and also established herself as a busy session singer and tour singer. Her credits, and there's so many, I couldn't even possibly list them all. Everybody that you know and those you don't know. So let's start with James Brown, Roger Daltrey, Level 42, Joe Cocker. I could go on and on. Come on, Monica.
This is like listening to my husband. He always does a commercial for me when we meet new people. Oh, Monica used to work with Roger Daltrey. Oh, she used to work with Deep Purple. Oh, she used to work with Dave. I'm like, hi.
Her talent goes way beyond music, but music is my happy place. And she's my happy place. So welcome to my closet, Mon.
Don't make me cry. Oh boy. I'm so happy to be here. This is my first podcast, believe it or not. But when Stacy asked me to do something, I never turn her down. She's done so much for me. I've been married in her home. I've had birthdays in her home. She is my sister, and just wonderful to me and my husband.
So we are so excited today to have our special guest, Kiaundra Jackson. So back in the day, when a few of my besties and I needed to have a real serious conversation, we came to my closet for privacy. It became a thing. I mean, truly, not this closet, another closet. But no matter how serious we got, someone would single out some of my fashion choices.
You have no idea what I'm sitting in. I said, this is surely the one person besides myself that has more clothes than me. And also I'm looking and seeing similar things. I can come to Stacy's house to a party and we go.
Yep, because we're wearing matching clothes. So I love to go for cheap and cheerful to sort of expensive, and they're in this closet and other closets. So, Mon, tell us about your outfit. I particularly like your top.
My top, I am also cheap and cheerful from designer to whatever. My top was given to me by another wonderful friend of ours, Lisa Swartz. It's an Emilio Pucci.
Whoa. I knew I liked it. And we love Lisa.
We love Lisa. My shoes and my suit are off of the real. No, I think my suit is from Fashion Fall. Is that the Neiman's thing?
No clue.
And then the other resale, which is the real. So my shoes are Neiman yeah, I'm right. My shoes are Manolo Blahniks. which I got for like $75. You've got a Manolo Blahnik.
I do.
Yeah.
No, actually, no, they're Christian Louboutins. Sorry.
And then my suit is Neiman Marcus brand, which I've got from their resale store. My husband always says she can have whatever she wants. I don't know why she just doesn't buy stuff new. Because his brother says, why is Monica always posting secondhand stuff? That's the way I am. Even when I was on tour, I would not spend $5,000 on boots. No, ma'am. That's the trip.
So you got to bring your own clothes on tour for when you were on stage. They didn't tell you what to wear or provide it for you?
Sometimes yes, sometimes no. A lot of times they would provide it for you. Most of the time you could bring your own stuff as long as it was black.
Yes, Adota said all backup singers tend to wear black. I hear the bell. That's our producers telling me it's time to get going to our Kibbitz, Kvetch, and Kvell. Now, Kibbitz means to chat. Kvetch means to complain, and Kvell, as my dad would say, is to bust your buttons. So, Monica, you get your choice. You can Kibbitz, you can Kvetch, or you can Kvell. Pick one, and what's on your mind?
I like both. I like Kibbitz and Kvetch. I know what they mean. Okay, so I'm going to complain, I think.
Okay, do whatever you want.
I want people to start being a little more intelligent, even if that means that you have to go online and educate yourself. Oh, you know what? I don't know about all this stuff with the LGBTQ. No, honey, you do know about it. You just think you don't because it's your doctor, it's your lawyer. And at least we say all the fashions you wear or try to wear.
I hear people laughing in the background.
I got a lot of my design taste, my fashion sense from number one, my mother, number two, my sister Ruby, and number three, every queen I know in the world. And I know them throughout the world. Thank you. And so educate yourself. Don't tell me, oh, I don't know if there was a Holocaust. Unlike most Americans who are afraid to step out of their backyard, and not just due to touring, I've traveled, as has my husband. I went to Poland. I went to Auschwitz. I walked in there and felt the chill of horror. Number three, be kind. It doesn't cost you anything. Be kind. Treat people the way you want them to treat you. I'm so tired of walking up to people, but I will not stop. If I hear somebody being rude to someone, I will walk up to them and say, I'm sorry. And I do it really nicely. Why are you speaking to that person that way? And they always say, well, I'm not talking to you. I said, but I'm talking to you. And I'm 70 years old and I'm a grown woman and I demand respect. Well, you don't look 70. That's not what we're talking about. And put your finger down with all this and the head roll. This is not a Janet Jackson video. I am not the one. Or I say to them, pull your pants up and look at me when I talk to you. Yes, auntie. You said, I said, listen, one child, I live up by Runyon Canyon. I said, were you born and raised in West Hollywood? Yes, ma'am. I could see he had designer on for days. I said, well, guess what? I had to work to live here. And what you don't do is disrespect the gift that you had from your parents to live in such a place, to wear Gucci and AG jeans. And he almost started crying. People know better, but sometimes you have to call them out. People say, you have to be careful, Mom, you could get hurt. I won't get hurt because whoever's around in the restaurant, in the grocery store, at the hospital where I volunteer, they'll say, yeah, I heard that. That wasn't right. Look at my daughter. You scared me. You scared her. You know, they'll come to my defense. If I have to be the first one to speak up, I will. But educate yourself, folks. Educate yourself. It's not cute right now, what we're living in. Educate yourself.
That is so, so true. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I knew I could rely on you for some wisdom. Oh, but do I hear the sound of crying or is it laughing? Better turn the sound up because it's time for our drumroll relationship roundup. So why don't we talk about Billy Ray Cyrus and Fire Rose?
Oh, Lord.
From what I understand, Billy Ray is filing for divorce from Australian singer Fire Rose after just 7 months of marriage. I would call that an oops. I'm not trying to be demeaning. Um, and it's all in the news. Filed for divorce in May of this year. They met on the Hannah Montana set. Interesting. And over the past few months, the allegations have been flying from both sides: fraud, abuse, a hidden marriage, or retaliation for double mastectomy. That's gross. And I hope they work through this without killing each other in the process.
What were you going to say you would call it after 7 months? Is a what? What was that?
Oops.
An ups.
An ups.
Well,
Marriages of a year or two, to me, are an ups.
It seems like this is a big ups.
Big ups. A sad ups.
A sad ups. I've just been reading a little bit of speculation. Apparently, he said, she said, a lot of claims on both sides. Apparently, she wasn't allowed to leave the house, or she could only leave the house once a month to get a manicure or a pedicure. And she wasn't allowed to have any contact with anybody unless it was her AA sponsor. This is what she said. And then he had stuff to say that apparently she was gaslighting him and that she's a big liar, and it's just a whole big mess. So it's really sad. I wonder what the kids think about all this.
Okay, here's my thing. I know Miley. I know her really well. She's a sweetheart. I've known her since she was for about 10 years. This is ridiculous. I don't think that you should be marrying your child's friend. Now, you may have fallen in love or whatever. Here we are a few months later. It didn't work out. Walk away.
Yeah.
We made a mistake. We both walk away and give each other some dignity. All this back and forth, and he's old enough to know better. She is too, actually.
Yeah,
I don't even want to hear it.
I guess Billy and Miley don't talk anymore. That's what she wasn't at his wedding. Oh no, sorry. She was at her mom's wedding.
Her mother's wedding.
Yes, she was. And I guess Noah talks to Billy, and apparently, according to the media, Miley doesn't talk to Billy, and Miley talks to her mom.
Well, I just think it's a very sad thing, and just get out of it and get away from it as soon as possible. I don't know what this girl's financial situation is. I know Billy has some coins from, if nothing else, from publishing an album. Give her a decent settlement and walk away. Stop bad mouthing each other. It's making you look bad. It's making you both look bad.
And as a divorce lawyer, I agree with you. Be respectful, wear the white hat, be gracious, move on.
Because, Billy has some friends like me saying, what the hell are you doing?
Yeah, it's messy, isn't it?
Just hang out until it burns out.
So, Mon, this week we are very excited to spend some time with celebrity family therapist and media star, Kiaundra Jackson. Yes,
I know who she is.
So if there was ever a pop star marriage and family therapist, I would say you fit the bill. So Kiaundra is a licensed marriage and family therapist that gets results. She's been seen on Oprah's own network TV show, Love Goal. She's been featured in Oprah's magazine, Essence, Women's Health magazine, Fox, CBS, and Forbes as one of the next 1,000. She's an award-winning speaker, best-selling author, and TV personality. Sort of like you, the list sort of goes on. Kiaundra is an expert on healthy relationships and mental health. Interesting, since I'm a divorce lawyer. And her work is recognized by Beyonce and the NAACP. She is the founder of KW Couples Therapy, as a thriving practice in the LA area, and co-founder of Black Speakers Rock, a network for new and emerging speakers. Very cool.
Wow.
So talk about a diversity of talents, women's leadership, and service to others. That's the kind of triple threat that I adore. We are going to learn a lot today, Mon.
I think that any kind of counseling is a good idea. I'm working with someone in my family right now trying to find her a counselor. A trauma counselor. And she didn't want to do it, which can be a thing, as you know, with people of color. They're like, you need to just pray. Well, I'm praying, and also I need some other help. And you have to remember that if you believe in a higher power, that higher power gave the ability to the therapists and doctors to gain the knowledge that they need to help us. And that's why we should go to a doctor, therapist, counselor, whatever. I had a therapist when I was 13. I suffered from being raped when I was 5, and I had some problems. And I was lucky because one of our nuns' father was a psychologist. And she told my mother, you need to get your child some counseling, which is what we called it back then. So I really appreciate you. And I've seen you. Go, girl.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited to be here. I'm thankful that you guys allowed me to be on this platform. And yeah, you're right. Thank you for sharing a piece of your story. It is a huge thing for anyone to get therapy, but also in communities of color, it's really hard for us to break that barrier and to get the help that we need.
Well, God bless. Because given that I'm a divorce lawyer, that's one of the first things I share with my clients or potential clients, that they need help. And the fact that they're seeking help means they're healthy as opposed to not healthy. And I remember when I was in my 30s telling a 70-plus-year-old man, I think he was about 78, to get a therapist. And he looked at me like I was like, had horns. But if you don't work through your issues, they're going to work through you.
Yeah, that's right. This is what I told the person in my family I'm trying to help. I said, I know that you've been abused. I can recognize the signs. And she finally admitted to it, and no one else in the family knew. And I said, if you don't get help from being abused, then you end up abusing yourself.
That's a good point.
Yeah, you gotta work your way through this.
Yeah, that's a very good point. I think also too, we forget the elements of, generational trauma as well. So the things that we don't work through on our own and, the traumas that we have, we typically can pass those things on and it keeps going down in our lineage and our family. And so someone has to be that generational shifter and generational breaker and breaking patterns and cycles to say, hey, you know what, I'm gonna work through my stuff. I'm gonna work through my trauma so my children won't have it and their children won't have it. And we can break those patterns. So I'm glad that, you're being that safe space for your family members so they can get the support that they need.
As one of my friends created an organization to stop domestic violence from going from generation to generation. It's called Break the Cycle. And that's what you need to do. By the way, with your incredible resume, did I miss anything? Anything you want to highlight that you're most passionate about?
I think you hit the big ones. I mean, for Beyonce, the NAACP, I mean, those are probably the biggest ones thus far. I'm just really passionate about getting the message out for healthy relationships, mental health across the board. And so I don't think you guys missed anything, but yeah, that was a pretty good resume that you guys rolled out there.
So how'd this all happen? How do you go from getting your credentials to being a TV personality, so to speak? So tell us, how did that happen?
That's a great question. I kind of just fell into it in a very weird way. I've always been very passionate about mental health and healthy relationships. And so I just talked about it. I went to school, I got my degree, I did all of those things. But on social media, I wind up going live and just having conversations around healthy relationships. And so that kind of led me to getting more people seeing me, more eyes, more ears. And then that led me to doing podcasts. And then that led me to doing in-person speaking engagements. And then that led me to larger stages. And then that led me to television. And so the doors just kept opening back to back to back. And it was just from a place of me being consistent and me really knowing what my passion and my purpose is and just staying in that lane. And so I know a lot of therapists don't get the opportunity, if they want to be on television and have some of the accolades that I have. But it is a very unique journey that, is often untrodden, so to speak.
Do you focus more on children, adults, men, women, couples?
Yeah, so it's very interesting because I have positioned and pivoted away from seeing clients one-on-one. So KW couples therapy is still my baby. That's what started it all, but I chose to do more speaking and do more media. So I no longer see clients for therapy. And now, a lot of that message is really just creating content, being on here with people like you guys to have conversations like this, television shows. And so that's where a lot of my energy goes into. So most of my audience right now is women, middle-aged women, probably between the ages of like 25 to 35.
That's what you call
That's middle age.
Oh, sorry.
I'm dead.
Sorry.
I'm dead.
You got both of us right up about that.
Girl, I'm 70. Help us out.
Well, listen, I have younger nephews and they think that I'm old and I'm 37. So,
Oh, no, I don't want to meet them.
generation thinks
You're
that
a child, a successful child. You're young.
I am still pretty young. Yeah.
And for your success, that's pretty amazing. God bless.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So yeah, most of my audience is women. I'm learning and seeing that a lot of the men are trying to trickle into my world a little bit. I'm seeing more engagement, on YouTube and things of that nature. So I'm seeing more men, get attached to a lot of the content that I share. So as of right now, I don't work with children or anything of that nature, just adults and giving them those tools.
I have a nephew. He's actually an identical twin. And he suffered trauma because he used to go to college away from our city. And he was driving home one holiday with his brother and one of their best friends. And they got hit by a drunk driver. The best friend went through the window and was killed immediately. Both my nephews were hurt, but they survived. He recently, within the last year, he's married to he has incredible family, incredible wife and children, and he's a teacher. And he posted recently within the last year when he won this award. He's always winning awards for being a teacher because he's wonderful. He's this big, just wonderful guy. And he said, I give thanks to the Lord. Black people, we always got the Lord. And then he gave thanks to his therapist. And I knew that he was seeing a therapist, but no one else in the family besides his wife knew. When I talk to my nieces and nephews, they're adults. I don't tell people what they say. I don't tell people what me and Stacy talk about. I have to have that respect and confidence of theirs. And he put it on his page, and his page blew up. All of these Black people, friends of his, especially men, oh my God, I didn't know you did that. Wow, you're making me consider it. And I think that's what we need. This is what we need in society, is for people to stop living on social media like everything's fabulous. Everything's not fabulous for anybody. What do you think about that?
Yeah, that's very true. I think we live in this technology-driven age where social media and online they think it's real life. It's like you see people having all of this money and cars and they have this perfect life. And that's the furthest thing from the truth. That's still why we see so many celebrities and people die by suicide when they have all of the fame, the accolades, the money, and the resources, because those things don't bring you happiness. You have to have that inner peace and that inner joy. And so I'm glad that there's people out there who are brave enough to say, yes, I go to therapy. Yes, I have a therapy, and you therapists, and you should too. That is breaking the stigmas no matter what race or ethnicity you are. It's just allowing people to get the help that they need. And so that's part of my mission. That's why I choose to be very vocal about being a therapist. And, I don't even fit the mold of what a typical therapist is, and it's not just the accolades.
Thank God. There's no typical mold, I think, anymore. I love working with therapists in what I do for a living. It's like my favorite time. I love the language they speak. I love the interaction, and it makes me a better lawyer to help my clients, whether there's children involved. That's really where it's necessary. or not children involved, just to support my clients and interact with their therapists to support my clients. Speaking of which, tell us about your book. There is a segue there. It's helping people.
I love the segue. I have 5 books. So my latest one is called Hard Work or Harmony, and it is a book about healthy relationships, specifically for women, helping them have healthy relationships with family, friends, and coworkers. So that is probably like one of the top ones, in addition to my other one on mental health called Staying Sane in an Insane World. So those 2 are kind of like my babies. Those are my top sellers, my best sellers. And it just really allows me to get that message that I've been talking about this whole time in regards to healthy relationships, mental health, and getting it from an aspect outside of just going to therapy. You know, there will be some people who will never go to therapy, but they will read a book. And so I decided to put those tips and tools and resources and techniques inside of a book to help those who will read and who will pick up that knowledge.
And healthy relationships are not just a love relationship. It's with your siblings, with the people you work with your parents, with your friends, and your love relationships. It's all kinds of relationships. I wrote a book called Divorce. It's all about control, how to win the emotional, psychological, and legal wars. But it's really about relationships as well. In the workplace, with your family, and how to interact and end or stay, how to make them more fruitful. So God bless you.
Thank you. Yeah, I think you may have had a valid point. Oftentimes when we hear the words relationships, we think of just the romantic ones. You know, we forget that we have relationships with coworkers, family, friends, those in our community. And those are relationships that you have to nurture too. So it's important to make sure that you're hitting it from all areas.
I tend to be the therapist for a lot of people, and I don't want to be. But when people ask me for help, it's really difficult for me to say no. I think all my life I've kind of been a people pleaser because I've almost always had more than everybody else. You know, I was lucky to start touring when I was 19. I made a lot of money, and I used that money to help family and friends. But as I've gotten older, I realized that, well, thanks to some of my friends and brothers and sisters, I'm 70 years old. They're like, when are you guys going to stop doing everything for everybody and do things for yourself and learn how to say no? Now, the first couple of times I said no, I got off the phone and cried. And my husband said, just give them the money. It doesn't matter. We have it. Just give. And I said, no, I'm going to get used to this. And I have decided that I went through a lot of loss in the past couple of years. I do not turn my phone on. My husband's phone is not on before noon.
Wow.
No, ma'am. Because whatever you're going to tell me, it's not going to make a difference, my reaction before noon. If you're out of state, out of the country, or around the corner, there's nothing I can do that I can't do after noon.
God bless you. I wish I could do that.
I had to take control of everybody depending on me.
No.
And I still help.
And that's without a therapist telling you to do that. Very cool.
No, I have a therapist. And that's another thing. People think they're afraid. I don't want nobody telling me what to do. I find that the therapists that I've had throughout my life, when I was raped, when my father died, and just recently, because my husband has Alzheimer's and I need help. I don't think my therapist told me what to do.
No.
I think they bring you to that enlightenment. They lead you to it.
Oh, therapists cannot be judgy.
Yeah.
No, a therapist should not be judgy. But, you know, one of the best things that you can do for a client is just to hold the mirror up to them. You know, I don't think therapists should tell people what to do. You can make suggestions and recommendations, but you help them come to their own realization about the issue. You know, I've never once told any of the couples that I used to work with, hey, you should get a divorce. I just lay everything on the table, let them see the red flag, the yellow flag, the green flag, all of the things. And then you can decide if you want to go to Stacy or not to figure out.
And sometimes when a therapist asks me a question, I answer. It's the first time I've really admitted something to myself.
Yeah.
I had a friend many years ago, and she told me that every time she left her therapist, she cried, that she felt worse leaving that therapist off her. And my reaction was, you're in the wrong
You're
therapist.
at the wrong place, girl.
You need to feel better about how you're coping, what you're doing, decisions you make. And when I made a recommendation to happen to be my therapist, may you rest in peace, she was in New York and the therapist was here. This is before COVID and remote counseling. But she was so thrilled because she was with a therapist that could really help her in a way that made her feel that there was hope and encouragement and that she could use her brain and her intuition and not cry.
You said, girl, you at McDonald's. Go to In-N-Out.
In-N-Out is much better. Go, Lindsay. Sorry.
Well, I mean,
Kind
that's a valid point. I don't think that all therapists are created equal, right? Just like with any field, you have therapists that are really great therapists and you have therapists that are not good. And so sometimes it's important for you to kind of like shop around. You know, if something isn't a good fit for you, you can say, you know what, this isn't working out. You know, we're not gelling, we're not vibing out. I'm crying more than I am, you know, happy after I leave your sessions. I think I'm going to go and search for someone that's a better fit. So it's okay to leave your therapist and find someone else that might be a better fit for you in a particular season.
Yeah.
You know,
I think in anything you do, you've got to be careful about telling people what to do, because if it backfires, they come back to you. I've done some speaking things for Stacy. I went through cancer. I had a bone marrow stem cell transplant, and I was very sick for like a year. I weighed like 80 pounds less. I was cute though.
Yeah,
I was cute. I was like 3 shades darker, looked like I had been to the Bahamas. And I used to do some speaking for Stacy about my journey through that. And I still volunteer at Cedars-Sinai and talk with and added a day to volunteer with oncology to help people who have cancer. Because when you tell them they have cancer, they're like, I'm going to die. And I'm like, no, this is not 1920s. You've got to speak. They won't even talk. And the only thing that I cannot do is I can tell them about my experience with the drugs, my experience with the weight loss, my experience with side effects and not telling the doctors and therefore suffering more. When if I had told them, when I did finally tell them, they dealt with it. It was not a problem. And you can't be afraid to tell them things. Otherwise, they can't treat you. You have to speak. The one thing I cannot speak on is any prognosis. If they say, how long did it take you to go into remission? I have to say, and I do say, we are all individual when it comes to cancer. That is not something I can answer for you. I am a volunteer. I am not a medical staff. You have to talk to your doctor about that. And see, and that's like therapy. My therapists, all my good therapists have been people who just sort of opened my mind and turned on the light. I had one bad therapist and he would sit there and when I would start crying, he'd go, and sim relax. And sim relax. By the third sim relax, I was up. Thank you, sir. There's your money. Out. Where are you going? I'm like, I'm sim relax. I can't.
it sounds like your story is very organic, that doors opened as you walked forward. Were there any times where you felt you were at a crossroad or had to make decisions, which way to pivot? Maybe when you were deciding whether to keep your practice or not keep your practice, et cetera?
Oh yeah, I've had tons of stories where I had to make very strong decisions, you know, even just after starting my private practice back in 2017, I left my full-time job to go all in and pursue my private practice. I didn't have any savings. I didn't have any 401k. I had no plan. I didn't have any of those things. I just knew within myself, with God's leading, that I needed to do something different. And me working at that full-time job wasn't it. And so I made that very scary decision to quit my job cold turkey and pursue, you know, being in private practice. And thank goodness that it worked out, you know, and everything was on the up and up. But that was a very hard decision for me because I didn't know that I was going to be successful. I didn't know if it was going to happen. And so even more recently, back in 2020, actually, I decided to no longer see clients for therapy so I can pursue more media and speaking. And that was also a very scary journey too, because seeing clients was about 85% of my revenue at that time. So letting my clients go ethically and saying, okay, I'm going to pursue a completely different field was scary. But then once again, everything worked out as it always does. And, I have media opportunities and speaking and engagements that are just kind of like endless. And so even with the strikes that just happened in the media and the TV space, it really pulled the carpet from underneath me because I've been trying to have my own television show for years. And right when I thought it was about to happen, the strikes happened, everything just got completely, pulled underneath me. And so that impacted my income, that impacted everything. And so that just happened more recently. So things still consistently keep happening. But when you are persistent, when you love what you do, when you're passionate and you are a go-getter, everything consistently works out, especially when you have faith.
Well, I actually think you follow the tenets of sort of my philosophy, which is and has been, I'm willing to take a calculated risk and fail. I am not willing not to take a calculated risk and be stagnant.
Or have any regrets. People used to always say, why are you moving to Europe? Why are you moving to LA? Everybody knows you here. You play 6 days a week. I said, this is not enough. In St. Louis, playing in clubs, I want to go on tour. But I knew what I wanted to do, and I went against sort of my mother's will, who wanted me to do something more professional. And, the people that I realized that now that the people who were telling me, don't do it, don't do it, don't do it, they were afraid because they wouldn't do it. They wouldn't get out of the little box. They were afraid to do it. So they were afraid for me. They weren't trying to hurt me or anything. They would just thought, oh, you're going out in the world. Not a good idea. I have a question for you.
Sure.
What would you be doing if you weren't doing what you're doing now?
I don't know. And I think that speaks to passion, right? I'm not one of those people who have, I never even wanted to be a therapist, if I'm being truthful and honest. I never wanted to be on TV. I never wanted the things that I had now. And I believe that God put those things on the inside of me because he knew that I could deliver. And there were people that I needed to impact and help. And so when I was growing up, I actually wanted to be a dermatologist because I had eczema growing up and my skin was kind of,
So did I.
Yeah. So I thought I was going to be a dermatologist and that wasn't God's plan for my life. And now I'm here being a therapist. So I don't know what I would be doing if it wasn't for this, because this is all that I know. And I'm okay with that. I'm perfectly fine with that.
Well, if we were to talk to you 10 years from now, you will morph into something else. I mean, that's clearly your path. And that's very exciting. Okay, it's not every day you have a divorce lawyer and a professional singer in one place. Do you have any questions for us?
So I think my question, I have two, one for each of you. So my first question for you, Stacy, would be, what is some advice that you heard a couple present to you that was the absolute worst advice that you've ever heard in regards to relationships, and they believed it?
Oh, God. I know that's happened to me. And let me try to think. Let me answer a different question, because this is what pops in my head.
Mhm.
I remember a client standing in my office telling me he still loved his wife, and she clearly still loved him, but they couldn't be married to each other. And that was very painful for me to hear, because but as we talked it through, I understood why. Along the lines of your question, and now I'm going to be obsessing over it, I have heard many of my clients say that when they've gone to couples counseling, the therapist has pulled them aside and told them to get out. And I actually, more often than not, it's because there's some form of abuse going on, or somebody's not going to change, and they're not going to change. So I find that very interesting, given, what you said, that you have never done that. I don't know if you haven't done that because it never came up, or you consciously decided that's not your role. And sometimes therapists have told my clients to try to make it work. That's why I send people to therapy. One of the first things I ask in most initial consultations is, would therapy help? Because if I can save a relationship, and I have, I'd rather do that. There's enough divorces to keep a bunch of divorce lawyers busy. And I want couples, especially if they have children, I don't care as much if they don't have children, but if they have children, to give it every shot they can to make it work, and encourage that. But they need therapeutic help to make that work.
Well, that's great. Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that.
Interesting. I don't have a clear answer to your question. But when it pops in my head, I will certainly let you know.
I'll let you get back
now
to me
in
on
my
that.
life. It's my point.
Yeah, I'll let you get back to me on that one. Okay, Miss Monica. So tell me, for you, my question would be, for those who want to have longevity in their career, no matter what it is, what is the top advice that you would give someone? Because you said that you have been in the game for a long, long time. So what would you give that person who wants to have longevity and not just quick success?
Especially in my industry, if you're a singer or a musician or a writer, especially when you're on tour and you're working with people and you're gone from anywhere to 6 months, which can be 10 months, and then they extend it to 18 months. Do not sleep with anybody. Do not have any kind of intimate relationship with anybody on that tour. That's a quick way to get kicked off the tour. People will start talking about you, including the wardrobe people, including the craft people. The person's wife comes out, and then you're sitting there looking stupid. Do not do it. I don't think in any way, if you're in an office, it's not a good idea. Because if it doesn't work and you have to see this person every day, and when you're on tour, you're seeing those same 100 people that are working that tour every day. And don't come to me and say, his wife is coming. It's none of my business. And whenever you get a job, any kind of an offer, I think you need to stay in school and get your education. It's so very, very important. People have handed me contracts. I'm highly intelligent. I didn't understand it. I am not a lawyer. You have to have the sense enough to say, I don't get this. And take it to SAG-AFTRA where they'll help you, or PPL in Europe. You have to be intelligent enough to know that you don't know enough. Do not be late in any circumstance. I don't care if you're meeting your aunt for lunch. Don't be late. Everybody's time is just as important as yours. And what happens in a working situation, you got about 2 times. When they say we have to be at sound check at 3, be in the lobby by 2:30, you got a couple of times to do that. The next time we're in the lobby, you're not there. And there's a new artist. So you have to be responsible and respectful and intelligent.
And professional.
Stay in school.
Mhm.
Stay in school. Get your skills together. And respect people's time.
Very, very good advice.
I love that. I love that.
Well, I would love to keep this conversation going, but I know our time is up, and your time is valuable, as Monica said. So thank you to a very special guest of ours, Kiaundra Jackson, and my sister bestie co-host, Monica.
Kiaundra, do you live in Los Angeles?
I do. I'm born and raised here. I am a
That's exactly what I'm talking about. Okay.
Yes.
She knows what I'm talking about. Just stay tuned.
Absolutely. Let's stay tuned for sure.
Thank you so much.
And congratulations on your career, Kiaundra.
Thank
I'm
you.
so very proud of you.
Thank you so much. That means a lot from both of you guys. I appreciate you guys for allowing me to be on your platform today.
So thank you to all of you for spending some of your precious time with Stacy Phillips and Friends. You can watch us on my YouTube channel at Stacy Phillips or download us wherever you get your podcasts. And don't forget to follow me on Instagram at Stacy D. Phillips Esq, that's for Esquire, or connect with me on LinkedIn. And Monica, tell them where they could find you if you want to be found.
In the bed until noon.
It's actually not true, but
After that, I'm on Facebook, I'm on Instagram, I'm on TikTok.
which I have an issue with.
TikTok. We'll see.
So see you again soon. And remember, love will always be in fashion.